Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Teaching Tax Flow Podcast, episode 166. Doing things a little bit different because we know you listen to every single one of these episodes. But today we're going to talk about the Secure 2.0 Act. So if you haven't met me, I probably haven't met you yet, John Tripolsky from the Teaching Tax Flow team, and I am joined here by my esteemed co-host, Chris Picciurro. How's it going, Chris?
It's going well. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. I'm excited to jump into this one because I think we can, I wouldn't say debunk something, but when we talk about Secure 2.0 or the Secure 2.0 Act, Secure actually stands for something, right? It's kind of an elongated abbreviation, acronym or something, right? What are we looking at here? What does this mean?
So the Secure Act of 2019 was the OG Secure Act. It stands for setting every community up for retirement enhancement. So remember, one of the laws of teaching tax flow, that tax agencies are your involuntary business partner. Tax laws are written to encourage and discourage financial, social, and economic behavior. One of which is the government wants to encourage taxpayers to save for their own retirement because the strain that's been put on to our Social Security and Medicare system due to our aging population, and people are living longer. So there was a Secure Act of 2019. The Secure 2.0 Act came into the fray in 2022. And we're going to talk about, now, even though that act was signed into law in 2022, a lot of the provisions affect the 2025 tax year. And a lot of what, I just came off being on the road. I had the honor of teaching one more time tax season updates to tax professionals for continuing ed. And we talked about the Secure 2.0 Act. I describe the Secure 2.0 Act as the Middle Child Act. So if you are listening or to this, and you have a middle child, you probably are going to chuckle. If you're watching on our YouTube, I want you to comment right now if you have a middle child or if you are a middle child. I'd love to hear about that because most middle children like to get attention, and sometimes they feel lost. You've got the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. That's like the older child. You've got OB3, One Big Beautiful Bill Act. That's the younger child. That's the one that everyone thinks is cute. And the tax cuts, the oldest child's usually the one that's the rule follower. And then you have that middle child that's always saying, "Hey, look at me, remember me? Give me some attention," even if it's not always the best attention. And if you're a middle child or have one, you know what that means. So the Secure 2.0 Act is kind of like that tax act that said, "Hey, remember me? I know I've got overshadowed by Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and OB3, but I'm important." And there's a lot of things that are changing here in 2025 or that have changed and that could affect actually end of year tax planning implementations based on this act. So, we're going to dive into some of the changes that affected 2025 under the Secure 2.0 Act, which, again, I believe it was in December 29th, day after my wedding anniversary of 2022.
Awesome. And we'll dive into this here. And Chris, back on what you said, I think if anybody has any questions on this, again, we're kind of just scratching the surface. Drop some comments in there. Even if you're not watching this on YouTube, you can get on YouTube with a couple clicks. We'll put some links in the show notes. Get on there and comment back. We do a lot of corresponding back and forth with people. So as we get into this one, and Chris, I love that you explain that, where that came up with or why you call it the middle child, right? Because I would agree 100%. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act or OB3 or OB3A, regardless what people are calling this thing, that one's getting all the attention right now, I think, right? That's the newborn baby that everybody wants to hold and get used to. So let's discuss this Secure 2.0 or Secure Act a little bit more.
This podcast is sponsored by Reps Tracker. Are you a real estate investor who is bogged down with the huge tax burden? Real estate investing can open the door to powerful tax benefits. Reps Tracker can streamline the process of accelerating these opportunities. To take advantage of a special TTF community discount, go to teachingtaxflow.com/reps, REPS, and use the code IFG. Better yet, click on the link below in this episode's show notes to go directly to the Reps Tracker sign-up page.
Well, one of the things that occurred this year, and if I'm playing pickleball, oh, by the way, if you play pickleball, drop in the comments. I want to hear from you. I can't tell you, I've had the pleasure of speaking with people in the teaching tax flow community recently as I work in our private CPA firm. and they realize that I do like pickleball. So we talk a little shop sometimes, talk some paddles, talk some venues. And I got to go out and play in Florida when I was there in Jacksonville on my last tax season update run. So I got to go to the very cold Queens, New York, and then to Jacksonville. And in both places, I said, "Hey, I had a big year this year." When I'm playing pickleball, if the score's 7-5, I always say, "Hey, good year." First of all, I'm happy that I'm winning, because the score's 7-5. But that was my birth year, meaning I turned 50. So turning 50 in the tax code, when it comes to the tax code, means that I can do the Heinz retirement contributions. You might say, "What the heck is Heinz Ketchup a sponsor?" You should be. But you get the catch-up contribution. So people that are over 50 years old can make an additional contribution to their retirement account. So I just call it the Heinz Ketchup instead of just ketchup. But what happened is, oh, by the way, turning 50 comes with other benefits. One, I can now stroll through what you affectionately call Wally World or Walmart. I found out there are no Walmart. John, there aren't Walmarts in New York City because, an attendee came up and said, "You know why? Because New York City is a union shop town and Wally World doesn't employ union workers." I said, "Okay." So if you're running around Wally World or one of your major grocery stores and you take a 1-a-day vitamin, I now have the pleasure of buying Centrum Silver. So this is a big graduation for the common person like myself. So Centrum Silver, and I can compete in those 50 plus or senior pickleball tournaments and do the Heinz Ketchup contribution. So those are all the benefits of turning 50. But guess what? The Middle Child Act or Secure 2.0 Act said, "Hey, we're going to reward people for turning 60. 60 is the new 50, right?" That's what I heard, I guess. So starting in 2025, we have enhanced Heinz retirement plan contributions or enhanced catch-up contributions for anyone ages 60 to 63. So for the 2025 year, if you are 60 to 63 years old, you can make larger retirement contributions in your 401k or 403b or 457 plan. And those are significant. They're 150% of your regular catch-up contribution. It's quite a and then the thought was, well, this is interesting. Why is it just ages 60 to 63? And I couldn't figure out why. A couple attendees in the courses said, "You know what? Since the full retirement age for Social Security increased by a few years, maybe the federal government thought, okay, well, let's then give people extra 3 years to make larger IRA or rather IRA, 401k, 403b retirement plan contributions." So very interesting. So the point is if you are contributing to your 401k and you typically just max your employee contribution, you will notice that you put more in this year than you've ever been able to put in previous years. So there's that. So it's pretty interesting that there's that's just for the age 60 to 63 taxpayers. But guess what? 60 is the new thing. John, I've heard you had a big birthday this year.
Yeah,
And
I'll always be behind you. Almost
you
10
are.
on the
So
nose, man.
so what also I've heard is 40 is the new 30. So congratulations.
That's you know what? That's what they say, and apparently, according to, Spotify and my year wrap up, my, listening age is 19. So I don't
That
know
makes
if I
sense.
got
Mine was 28. So
and I
I'm
don't know if
always a
it's, like, too
decade
much
older, I
Taylor
guess.
Swift going on there or what's going on, but,
Well,
something.
we haven't
So,
talked about you being a huge Swiftie in quite a few episodes, probably over a year, but that's all right. Maybe we'll revisit that next year. You
my
know,
wife's trying to convert
Taylor's
me.
kind of washed, as the kids like to say, right? Although she had a new album, um, but what are you gonna do? She's got other things going on. She's dating football players or getting married to them and that sort of stuff.
Yep. Lots of activity, kind of in the similar to the tax world, right? I mean, there's so much stuff going on. I think it's important that we do topics like this, right, and dive in on something that's a little bit more specific that some people kind of tend to forget about because right there, everybody kind of gravitates to the new exciting news that's going to impact them now, not necessarily what's going to impact them in the future. So again, I love that you refer to this too as the middle child, right? Like
Middle
you know it
Child Act. Oh
exists,
yeah.
but you forget about it sometimes. So it's
So
it's a good thing.
exactly. And we don't know if Taylor's a middle child. She does have some catchy tunes. All right, let's talk about the next thing with Secure 2.0. is mandatory automatic enrollment in new 401k and 403b plans. So this is interesting, right? Now, if you have a new plan in 2025, either a 401k or 403b, employers have to automatically enroll eligible employees, which is really interesting because before, um, you know, before an employee might forget that they're eligible or not be notified, not really understand they're eligible. So employees must now the employee can opt out at any time, but I think this is obviously a provision that's not just encouraging uh, people to contribute to retirement. It's enrolling them in the retirement and saying you can opt out. So this is like the bonus depreciation of retirement. You got it, but you get elect out of it. There are businesses, smaller businesses with less than 10 employees, new businesses that are less than 3 years old, some churches and government plans that are exempt. But for the most part, new 401k and 403b plans, if you're eligible, guess what? You're in the plan, and then you can elect out if you want. So congratulations.
It's a great way. I mean, if they're trying to accomplish that, right? Of trying to eliminate the, I don't know, ignorance is bliss or anything like that. Like you can't, by that being the case, you can't say, "Oh, I wish I would have did this a while ago." Like you have to make a conscious effort to say, "No, I don't want this." Right? So
Right.
they're making it. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's pretty good. You know,
Mhm.
I think it's a smart move for the most part.
Well, we know if you don't see it, you can't spend it. So it's probably better for especially younger people to contribute to retirement, have it come right out of their paycheck. Now, again, we want to encourage you. Remember, legally and ethically reduce the tax you pay in your lifetime. So if you're in a lower to moderate income household, really focus on working with your tax professional and financial advisor to determine if you should contribute to a Roth or a traditional retirement account. And again, you might have questions. So like John said, post any questions right in our YouTube chat. We go through a little behind the curtain. We go through multiple times per week and answer questions, and some that and within our private Facebook group, which is Defeating Taxes, defeatingtaxes.com. We're answering questions all week long, but we love it because here's what happens: those questions drive our content. So,
And Chris, maybe we can have some fun with this next year and really put you in the hot seat. Maybe if somebody comments the most and we start to identify some trends of, somebody really being active, maybe we'll let them come on a podcast with us and just grill you on some stuff.
probably
Maybe.
not, but maybe you never know. Number
Maybe.
three, law. So what do we have? So a reduced. We have two more provisions. There's a new concept called the long-term part-time worker, LTPT. Oh gosh, another acronym. Ultimately, there were people that were excluded from an employer-sponsored retirement plan that were long-time and yet part-time workers. So let's think about that person that works maybe as a seasonal team member as a full-time person for half the year. Maybe they're at a golf course. Maybe they're a lifeguard. Maybe they work during the holiday season. So if you are a long-term part-time employee or worker, you could be eligible for a retirement plan now where you wouldn't before. You just have to work at least 500 hours per year for 2 consecutive years to be eligible, which would make sense. I mean, what if you could easily do that if you were working a holiday season for 12 weeks full time. So that's really, I think, going to help those long-term part-time workers. And it's important because remember, usually 401ks and 403bs and employer-sponsored plans come with a match. And you want to pick up that match. At least put money in there to pick up your employer match. The fourth and final Secure 2.0 Act provision that we're going to talk about is another acronym. Now, John, you've been slacking. You want to throw me under the bus. I'm going to throw you under the bus now. You had a little jingle. You had some fancy pants stuff going on when we had an acronym, and
I'll get like a cowbell.
Yeah, I
Like the
listened to
old
the last
the
couple
old SNL
podcasts.
skit. So
And I didn't hear that little jingle, so I'm expecting it for this one. But a new one called a PLESA, pension-linked emergency savings account. So this is something where an employer may offer a savings account linked to their defined contribution plan, meaning their retirement plan contributions. They're made after tax, like a Roth. They're capped at $2,500, but they're indexed for inflation, and you can withdraw up to 5 times per year penalty free. The reason this is in play is for lower to moderate income households that have employer match money in the retirement account. Instead of taking a distribution, which is taxable, which is and subject to a 10% penalty, it allows people to, in those situations that have an emergency, to be able to take a withdrawal without the 10% penalty. So again, we're seeing, they have to have a hardship, but what are we seeing here with these last two? We're seeing the theme of, hey, let's make retirement plans available for maybe moderate and in lower income households, people that don't work part-time. And then the first couple, let's make, actually the last three, and the automatic enrollment. And then the first one, let's increase the amount that taxpayers could put into retirement in those typically pre-retirement years of 60 to 63. So that's your summary. Secure 2.0, the 2025 provisions. And guess what? There's going to be some new stuff in 26 and 27 we're going to talk about either on our podcast or on the Teaching Tax Law YouTube channel in the future.
I like it. I like it. So hopefully if somebody was aware of this, we dove a little bit deeper. Of course, there's a lot more to go into on how things connect. And Chris, I would say this, and I'll wrap with this exactly, right? Is we're talking about, this Middle Child Act, right? There's a lot of things here that are I wouldn't say forcing people to plan for the future, but they're putting the effort on them to opt out, not opt in, which I think is fantastic. And the greatest thing about this is it correlates, I think, directly with the way that we always talk about tax planning, right? Like our job at teaching tax law, we're talking about tax planning. We want to make it accessible to as many people as possible, even low to middle income families, households, types of businesses, all this stuff. And I think this is kind of going in the same way. So if anything, it kind of solidifies the trend of trying to take things that people think is only up here, if you're making $1 million plus or whatever, and making it more accessible. So I'll kind of leave it at that. Look forward to next episode with everybody again. Different day of the month, same day of the week, completely different topic here on the Teaching Tax Flow podcast. Have a great week, everybody.
The content provided is for educational purposes only. We encourage you to seek personalized investment advice from your financial professional. For all tax and legal advice, please consult your CPA or attorney. Investment advisory services are offered through Cabin Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Cabin Securities, a registered broker-dealer. The content of this podcast does not constitute an offer of securities. Offerings can only be made through an offering memorandum, and you should carefully examine the risk factors and other information contained in the memorandum.